I think at this point, it's really no surprise that I'm a big fan of freestyling in Rocket League, and really just the freestyling community as a whole. I really do believe that freestylers have had a massive impact on the game and on the meta overall, so I figured that it would be fun to go through some of the more interesting and crazy weird moves that freestylers have sort of created or perfected over the years. And some of these are really recent, so I thought it'd be cool to shed light on just kind of what's going on. And obviously many of you have seen things like flip resets and ceiling shots, so I wanted to show you guys some of the more weird, unorthodox moves that freestylers do that maybe you guys haven't seen, and maybe that you can try out for yourself and probably fail. Make sure to subscribe, guys, if you haven't already, and leave a nice juicy little like on the video if you enjoy it. All right, the first one I want to show you guys is a little thing freestylers like to call gymnastics. I think it was originally called tricks in its early days. Now, this was really popular for a very short period of time in freestyle history. Nobody's really doing this anymore, but I believe it was kind of like mid 2016 to early 2017. That was really the heyday of this odd little move. So gymnastics is basically in Rocket League a way of moving your car down the field to the ball, and it's something that happens sort of on and around the ground. You're sort of using boost to bounce and flip and somersault and I guess roundhouse, and you can see why they get the name gymnastics. Basically, you do that all the way down the field prior to making a shot. This was one of the first diversions away from just flying down the field and spinning in the air and doing crazy things in the air. And you could think of it as basically the same thing as that, just on the ground. There were some pretty amazing Rocket League gymnasts, I guess we could call them, back in the day. Pulsefire was definitely one of them. Also, obviously, Jakze, players like Sting, and there was definitely others as well. And by the way, quick word about Pulsefire. If you guys haven't already seen his YouTube channel, he is basically blowing up right now. He's been making videos for a long time, but he's finally getting the credit he deserves and getting the views that he deserves. So if you guys haven't watched his videos, definitely check him out. I'll just put a link in the description below so you can check him out if you want to, as well as all the other freestylers that I mentioned in this video. With Fire, if you like a good mixture of incredible shots and very weird random dialogue, this could be perfect for you. All right, number 9 on my list is actually not technically a move, but it is an important element of modern freestyling, and it's basically camera settings. Now, it's not like every freestyler has the exact same camera settings, but there are some trends, and depending on what you're trying to do as a freestyler, you can accomplish certain things easier with certain camera settings. For example, if you're going for chain flip resets or air dribbles, the best camera settings are lower FOV and lower distance and sort of a different angle so that you can really get that precision and be able to see the ball in a certain way while you're doing these mechanics. Now, I've tried this before, and I can say that if you're good at hitting like flip resets with normal regular camera settings, if you switch to this and try it out, you can see just how much easier it is. Now, I'm not saying you're just gonna turn into Ganer or DLG overnight, but it's a good place to start. But if you're going for more traditional moves like ceiling shots, or really anything besides chain flip resets or air dribbling, you can probably use more conventional settings. All right, number 8 goes to a specific way of setting up ceiling shots. Many of you know the 2 ways to set up a ceiling shot. You have the classic drive up on the ceiling, and then you also have the move where you fly from the wall to the ceiling behind the ball. Recently, I started to notice a specific way in which freestylers move from the wall to the ceiling. They often don't just fly straight up to the ceiling, but they have different ways of spinning their car and sort of elevating their car to their ceiling while spinning, and it actually is useful. It's not just to look flashy, but obviously it does look flashy. There's not one creative way to do it. Players like Fire do kind of more conventional little spinny moves that feel more like the classic freestyling spin, whereas players like Novel, for example, do some very odd kind of unorthodox spins while they get their car up to the ceiling. Speaking of ceiling maneuvers, I had to show you guys this little move created and invented by the freestyle god himself, Muirie. Now, this is such an amazing move. It's almost taken over solo freestyling. Players are just sort of automatically implementing it into their shots as sort of a staple move, which is really cool to see. So another element of ceiling shots is the way in which you leave the ceiling. And again, there's 2 options here. You can either jump off the ceiling, which means you must hit the ball pretty soon because you only have a few seconds left with your dodge, or you can fall off the ceiling and thus have infinite time to use your dodge. So Muirie kind of broke this whole system down by doing a creative little move where you jump off the ceiling with your car upside down and then flip backwards and up into the ball with the underside of your car, thus hitting, and getting a flip reset and having, again, an infinite dodge. So he does jump off the ceiling, but because of this mechanic and this move he does, he's able to give himself another infinite dodge. This is probably my favorite move to come out in the last year or so for freestyling. Maybe it's been more than a year. It's probably been more like 2 years, I guess. It's just so clean and so unique looking. I've spent hours trying to get it, and I still haven't hit one yet, but someday. All right, number 6 is the heli spin flip reset, or the helicopter flip reset. Now, I'd like to say there are tons of freestylers out there pulling this off, but it's primarily just Ganer, the flip reset man. Now, I did find this guy on YouTube, Troyota, which is like Troy and the Toyota put together in one name. I saw some videos of him pulling off a few, and they're really nice actually. But basically, it's the same system as a normal flip reset and stall, except in between all of it, you're doing an upside down sideways spin with your car, kind of like your car is a helicopter propeller or whatever you call those things. A propeller, right? It's a propeller? Oh, okay, so I guess it's a blade. I just had to Google that. Whatever, you get the idea. You look like a helicopter when you're doing it. Number 5 goes to something I started noticing about a year ago, especially in some of Stuxi's training montages. He and other freestylers have an uncanny way of getting a ceiling reset without really losing their momentum. They just sort of graze the ceiling while flying through the air at the ball at 100 miles per hour. They'll just barely touch the ceiling. Now, the main way in which they do this, especially when their car is kind of sideways, is by holding down the drift button when they make contact with the ceiling. Now, this is similar to recovery mechanics, where on the ground your car will be flying, at the ground, but it'll be traveling sideways. So if you don't do anything, you'll just sort of stop. So the way to keep your momentum going forward is to hold down drift and then recover from there. Basically, freestylers have implemented this into freestyling in the air and on the ceiling, and it's made for some pretty ridiculous shots. Number 4 is a pretty recent move, and in freestyling rules, it's basically a way to fail your shot but still keep it going. At least, I think that's how it started. The technical name for this is the pogo. Now, obviously, players are doing this on purpose, and it's pretty cool. Basically, when you're falling towards the ground with the ball, you want to hit the nose of your car on the ground in such a way that your car bounces off the ground, and then you immediately implement boost and other things to go back up and catch the ball and either turn it into an air dribble or a flip reset, basically whatever you want at that point. Now, this is very difficult to master, but freestylers have gotten pretty amazing at it. Not exactly the most useful mechanic or skill for competitive, I don't see this becoming a staple move for RLCS or anything like that, but it is pretty fun to watch. Number 3 is a move that has finally made its way into competitive play, and that is the air musty flick. And it's a move that was sort of perfected by freestylers, even though obviously Musty was the founder of the musty flick, and that was primarily on the ground. I don't think Musty was the first person to do an air musty flick. Now, whether off the ceiling or, a flip reset, freestylers will often musty the ball high off the backboard or just into the top corner of the goal. And it's interesting. It seems like nobody is doing regular musty flicks anymore. All the impressive musties that I see anymore pretty much happen in the air. At this last RLCS World Championship, Arsenal, a player for Space Station Gaming, actually pulled off a little mini air musty flick. And it was really cool to see someone do this, in such a high stakes tournament. Number 2 is a very recent move. I hadn't seen this before Johnny Boy's 1v1 show match between Muirie and Jakze, and that was a freestyle 1v1. I don't know if this has an official name yet, but it's basically a backboard reset pinch. This is done by basically smashing the underside of your car on the ball and on the wall at the same time, and then sort of bouncing off of the wall with the ball. And then obviously you have your reset at that point, so you can hit the ball into the goal or stall or, whatever you want to do at that point. So Muirie sent me a clip a while back of him pulling this off, and really the timing is unbelievable. I've tried it a few times, and yeah, I'm not going to be doing this anytime soon. Although I am good at failing my pinch, and that's kind of what this is. It's like a failed pinch, sort of. Again, I've talked a lot about freestyle moves impacting competitive play. Recently at the World Championship, Jstn actually made a backboard flip reset shot, which is, exactly what this is, and it's pretty crazy to see. His wasn't necessarily that stylish, but he did get a really weird reset on the back wall. All right, guys, the number 1 crazy freestyle move that has been popping up recently is this way of getting a reset off of the edge of the inside of the goal. So back in the day, Jakze and others were getting resets off the inside of the goal, but they were using the top of the goal and flying out into the field, flying forward and basically it was a way to maintain their dodge. Now this move is actually used when setting up a turtle air dribble, and the whole point of it is to have your dodge be available for that turtle air dribble. Some freestylers like to get the reset off of the ball before setting up a turtle air dribble, but in my opinion, this is a cleaner way of basically doing the same thing while maintaining a lot more momentum into the ball. I don't know if people really do this like in actual games. The circumstances would just have to be perfect to be able to pull this off, but you know, it's probably happened. All right guys, thanks for watching. I'm really excited to see what other mechanics and moves and shots come out of the freestyling community in the coming years as Rocket League grows and develops. Hopefully even you and I can get some time set aside to master some of these weird moves. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.